Well, it's 11 o'clock, so we can start. Thank you. Just 1 second, I'm just. Okay. Wish you all a very good morning. I hope everyone is keeping safe and healthy and continuing to take all necessary hygiene and immunity related precautions in this still ongoing COVID-19 pandemic times. We once again welcome you to the second OUP EBSCO jointly hosted webinar. As you all know, OUP is a global active publisher partner for EBSCO. Today's webinar will cover two topics. The first one is on how to publish with Oxford journals, which is always a very popular topic among faculty members, researchers, and students of various disciplines who's looking forward to learn more ways to publishing with top-ranked, high-impact factor journals from leading publishers. The second is on Oxford Medicine Online, introduction to various products and services from Oxford Medicine. To make this understanding easy, we have with us today Ms. Sumita Sen from OUP. Ms. Sumita is the Regional Training and Implementation Manager for South Asia and Southeast Asia for OUP. Ms. Sumita has over 18 years of experience, out of which she has been with OUP for 6 years now. She specializes in training small and large groups across diverse industries. She has a proven success in leveraging educational theories, methodologies to design, develop, and deliver successful training programs and integrate instructional technology to provide on-site and virtual training. She is highly adept at organizing and facilitating management and team building training programs and activities. With these few words of introduction, I would now call upon and request Ms. Sumita to begin today's proceedings. Thank you very much, Sumita. You're welcome, please.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, Sumita.
Okay, I just wanted to check the mute thing.
You can make it a little bit louder if you can increase your volume.
Sure, we'll do that. Is it better now?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, I can't share my screen. I need the presenter rights.
Ma'am, you have the presenter rights.
Okay. Now, can you see my screen?
That's coming up.
So good morning, everyone. And thank you, Mr. Goswami, for introducing me to the team. My name is Sumita, and I work with Oxford University Press, and I look after training for South Asia and Southeast Asia. Today, we will be doing a session on how to publish with Oxford journals. And I will be sharing some important information. Let's put it this way. Information is of two kinds. We have good to know and need to know. So I'll be sharing a lot of good to know information apart from the need to know information that you need to, that you should know. And in the second part of the session, I'll be running you through one of our very coveted products, Oxford Medicine Online, which is the absolute go-to for anyone in the field of medicine.
Sumita, your screen is still not showing the slide, so kindly just share it again.
Okay. Is that
Yes.
okay now?
Now we can see. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So here we are. So what are we going to cover today? I'll give you a brief introduction on the company, a brief introduction to journals. We will then proceed to talk about the differences between a thesis and an article. We will also look into how you can turn your thesis into an article. I'll give you a few tips on how to write a manuscript and the different kinds of journal manuscripts that you can think of writing, which is the best way to select the journal you would want to write for, how you should upload manuscript on the OUP platform. We will do the article submission process. I'll just touch upon it quickly in the interest of time. We'll take a look at the journal publishing cycle, and I'll just give you I'll throw some light on open access and the different kinds of open access that OUP has to offer. So this is the University of Oxford, headquartered in Oxford, United Kingdom. It is the oldest and largest university in the English-speaking world. I think everyone knows about Oxford University. And Oxford University Press is actually a department of the University of Oxford. And our primary objective is education. We have about 43 online products. We've got journals, we've got ebooks, we've got bibliographies, we've got research encyclopedias, handbooks, medicine, law, art, music, you name it, we have it. So we have about 43 online products. Our primary focus is only education. So this is a brief introduction to the company, which I've already said. It's the oldest and largest university in the English-speaking world. We publish about 7,000 new books and 370 journals in a year. And we have a presence in about 51 countries, which means we are there pretty much in every country in the world. You will find an OUP office somewhere. This is what the structure of the company looks like. The University of Oxford, which rolls down to the delegates of the press, which further rolls down to Oxford University Press, and our chief executive is Mr. Nigel Portwood. Let's take a look at the journals landscape. Who publishes journals? Well, we have commercial publishers. For profit, we have the big five. We've got Elsevier, we've got Wiley Blackwell, Taylor and Francis, Springer Nature, and Sage. Not for profit. The reason I say not for profit is because we do have to make money, we do have to pay salaries, we do have to keep the process of education going. But whatever money we do make goes back into academics. So it's basically Oxford University Press, Cambridge University Press, all other university presses. It could be Yale University Press, Chicago University Press, etc., and other small publishers. We also have research societies who publish journals. We will touch upon them as we proceed through the session. Now, why Oxford journals? Very simple. The Oxford Journals collection does not have a long tail. We've always been high in quality and we've been used through and through. Now, this is not something Sumita Sen, who works for Oxford University Press, is standing with a mic and saying, hey, we are the best. This is basis information collected from the journal citation report, which is collated by a company called Clarivate Analytics. For all of you who are familiar with journals, you will know that the best way to judge whether a journal is good or bad is through its impact factor. And according to Clarivate, 70% of our journals have an impact factor. 80% of these journals are in the top 50% of at least one category. And 6 journals are ranked number 1 in at least one category. Let's take a further look. This is the latest result from the JCR report. 55% of journals with an impact factor are ranked in the top 25% of their field. And over 75% are in the top 50% of their field. So this is a slide which I've collated, and I've called it Snippets from the Oxford University Press. Right now, all of us have a very uncertain future. We are all trapped at home. We are we're actually gripped in fear. We really don't know what's happening. Coronavirus has kept all of us straddled at home, worried about what's going to happen next. But there's a lot of research going on in trying to find a cure for this. And while this research is on and different publishers are making their contribution to it, different scientists are making their contribution to it, Oxford University Press has made a lot of content free for all researchers. So you have free chapters and books on Oxford Medicine Online and a whole lot of research articles. We'll take a look as we proceed through the session. So I'm going to take you to the Oxford Journals platform. This is what the Oxford Journals platform looks like. You can take a note of the URL. It says academic.oup.com/journals. If you type academic.oup.com, it will automatically bring you to this page. This is what the homepage looks like. And if you remember, I was telling you that we've made a lot of content available free. All you need to do is click on the COVID-19 Information Hub. It gives you access to all content related to the coronavirus. You have a selection of journal articles, you have chapters and articles from our online resources, and you have a selection of the OUP blog articles. They're all hyperlinked at your convenience. I would request all of you to go through it. The OUP blog articles are very interesting. To go back to the home page, just click on the logo here. There is a tab for frequently asked questions. If you have any doubts, if you think you don't have an answer to something and you would want a quick response, take a look at this. There is a tab for authors here. So everything that we would be discussing today is given here. And they're all hyperlinked. So if you forget what I've said today, you do have the luxury of going back to the platform and looking for what we have. There's a section for librarians as well. Librarians can download MARC records, download their usage reports, request for training materials, posters, any marketing flyers, anything that they need, the librarians, this is a tab for them. On this platform, there are 357 journals at the moment. If you click on the journals A to Z tab, you will get to see all the journals alphabetically. We cover 5 subject areas. So if you want to browse by subject, you can just click on this tab and select the subject you want. If you look at resources, this is just a duplication of functionality. Whatever is there on the home page is here. Now, out of the 357 journals that we have on this platform, 1/3 belong to OUP. The rest are published in conjunction with other learned partner societies. You remember I was talking about research societies. So let's take a look at the research societies that we partner with. Click on societies, go to our partners, and you will see that we work very closely with a lot of learned societies. You have the American Journal of Hypertension, the British Council, you've got the British Geriatric Society, the European Society of Cardiology, and a whole lot of them. So take a look at it when you have some time. And I'm not going to go through, browsing or looking for something because all of you know how to browse, how to search. So I'm not going to waste my time on that. But I'll just go straight to medicine and health because today's theme is medicine. Let's take a look at one of our most coveted journals. This is the homepage of this journal. So Each journal has its own homepage, which pretty much has the same features. So this is the name of the journal. This is the society it publishes in conjunction with, which is the European Society of Cardiology. You have a tab for issues. Now, when I talk about issues, I'd just like to touch upon another point. Journals are of two kinds. You have the current collection and you have the archive collection. The archive collection is from 1827 to 1995, and the current collection is from 1996 till date. Depending upon the subscription you have, you can always select from the drop down here in issues, whichever decade you are looking for. So it does have a lot of archive journals issues as well. You will find the submit tab in every journal's homepage. Very important for this session because it gives you the author guidelines, which you will need to go through before you select your journal. You will need to go to the submission site where you will have to actually upload your manuscript. We will be doing a demo on that soon. And the different open access options that you have available. If you click on About the European Heart Journal, it not only tells you what the scope of the journal is, it also gives you the evolution of the impact factor. So you see, the last time I did my session, the impact factor was 24.889, and there has been a slight dip this year. The reason we ask you to check the evolution of the impact factor, like I said, all of you who are familiar with journals will know that to check whether a journal is good or bad, you need to look at its impact factor. And the impact factor, how is it calculated? It's calculated basis the number of citations. The more people cite, the higher the impact factor. I'm sure all of you know the formula, and at the risk of sounding repetitive, I would still say it again. The impact factor is calculated taking the data of 2 years. So if I want the impact factor of the European Heart Journal for 2019, I would take the data of 2017 and 18, number of times the article cited, divided by the number of citable articles published. Data of 2 years will give me the impact factor. And I've shown you how you can check the evolution of the impact factor. Now, depending on the subject that you're doing your research, now you might look at some journals, say a humanities journal. Usually humanities journals don't have an impact factor unless they are multidisciplinary journals. But if you look at, say, something like African Affairs, I'll just go back and take a look at African Affairs. Let's go to social sciences. Let's click on African Affairs. You see, it has 2.145. But if you look at About African Affairs, you will see that there has been a steady growth and its ranking is pretty good. But its impact factor is 2. So you would say that, oh, it's not a good journal. It just has 2, but that has 22. You'll have to think about the subject it is aligned to. Maximum research happens in life sciences and medicine. How much more will people find out about African affairs? Definitely not much. Which is why there are few people researching on this. So there are fewer citations, which is why the impact factor is 2. But that does not mean that this journal is not good. Because if you look at the evolution of the impact factor, it's pretty fair. And the ranking has also, though there's been a little dip, it's dipped from 1 to 5 in 2019. Let me tell you a little story. Let's say I run a journal. The journal's called ABC. It's a useless journal. No one reads it. I give it to the librarian of National Library. He takes my journal and throws it into the dustbin. Okay, now we are all digital, but I'm looking at it from the hard copy point of view. I give it to a few students in a university. They just leave it on their desks and walk out. Nobody reads that journal. It's just useless. Now, I have this friend, relative, mentor, Dr. Amartya Sen. Just to clarify, I'm not related to him. I wish I was. But I walk up to Dr. Sen and say, why don't you just write, do me a small favor? Why don't you just write one article for my journal? And he obliges. He writes that article. Now, because of that one article, what happens is the number of citation goes up. And when the citations go up, automatically the impact factor goes up. So when the impact, so does that mean my journal is good? So if the impact factor has gone up because of the number of citations, does that mean my journal is good? No, it's still bad. It is only that one article that has helped me change the impact factor, which is why we always encourage people to look at the evolution of the impact factor when you are when you are selecting your journal to get published. Now, I'm going to be showing you a few more important things that are good to know when you are. Let's look at this particular article. You see, it gives you the bibliographic information. It tells you that this journal, this is volume 41, this is the issue number, and it gives you something very important, which is the DOI number. Now, the DOI number is the digital object identifier. What is it? We all know it's digital object identifier, but what is its importance? You see, science is changing every day. Every day we have newer discoveries. When I was a kid and I had fever, the doctor said no taking a shower. But when I had kids and they had fever, the doctor said give them a bath with cold water, get the temperature down. Science is changing. Earlier, if there was a kidney problem, doctor said drink lots of water, flush out all the toxins. Today, science says don't tax your kidneys, not more than 500 ml of water a day. Science is changing. 20 years later, when one of your siblings, one of your children, someone in your family, say in 2040, would be doing a research on coronavirus, this person will probably he will not have the time to read all the research articles. So, what would he want? He would want to be able to catch those articles that are really, really necessary for his research. So this is a permanent reference number. Even after 20 years, it will not change. So if you have the DOI number, you can quickly pull out the article from a journal. Point to note, the article will always have a DOI number. A journal never has a DOI number. It is the article that has a DOI number. So it's of great use to the librarians, to the lecturers, as well as for the students. It's easy to pull up an article. So this is one aspect of an article that I wanted to share with you. The second one that I wanted to talk about was PDF. I know all of us love PDF. It's easy to read, it's light. When you don't have the internet, you can quickly just go through it. However, HTML has a few points over it. Can you copy and paste from a PDF? No, you can't. And even if you do use a snipping tool to take a picture, an image, you will not have the citation information. It will not tell you what is the source of your image. And in subjects like science, geography, economics, where you have tables, etc., and you might need to use it for your research, it is easy to download the slide as a PowerPoint. So if you download it as a PowerPoint, it will give you the citation information and will tell you which journal it has been taken from. So this is one difference between HTML and PDF. And the other is, you see, there are a lot of hyperlinks. This article doesn't have, but usually most articles have a lot of hyperlinks. Let me see if I get another article which has, let's take a look at this. Okay, so when you go to this further reading, wherever you go, these hyperlinks don't work in a PDF. So you will need an HTML to use these external reading. Now let's look at this donut here. This donut is an extremely important aspect of any article. I'm showing you one which has very high metrics. It's called the Altimetric score. It's collated by a company called Altimetrics.inc. And what does it do? It gives you the readership analysis. It tells you how many people have read this article, how many people have downloaded this article, which parts of the world, the demographic analysis, and the geographical breakdown. Let's take a look at the metrics here. Here you are. You see, so many people have viewed it. So many people have downloaded this article. Strange, why can't I? Okay. There is no, let's go back to this one. Let's go back to the one we were looking at. Okay, usually when you see the altimetric score, there will be view more information. For some reason, it's not showing up. Let's try another one. Let's try this. Okay. Okay, it's not showing. Usually it says get more information and it shows you a world map showing you the readership in which parts of the world it is read and what are the different kinds of people who are reading it, whether they are scientists or students or social workers. So it gives you that information. There must be some background work, which is why it isn't showing. So let's not waste so much time over it and go back to our presentation. So I've explained some very important key concepts. I've explained the impact factor, the evolution of the impact factor, why you need to check it. I've explained the differences between the PDF and an HTML, what the DOI is, its importance. You know, when you get your work published, your article will also have a DOI, which is why it is important for you to know its relevance. And I've explained the altimetric score. So we've done a lot of basic touching upon on features of journals. So now let's get back to our presentation. So now you see all of us in some form or the other want to be recognized for the kind of work we do. I travel a lot. I would want to write a travel blog. I'm not as intelligent as scientists are. And my limitation is probably writing a travel blog or, you know, writing something about people I meet. But for scientists, their dream is actually when they're doing their research, if they come up with a new finding, to bring it out to the audience and get their work recognized in a good journal, to get their work promoted and recognized. And it is their dream. So they have an idea, they've done a major discovery. They want to write it out and make sure it's published in a good journal. But to make that paper acceptable in a high quality journal, when I'm talking about high quality, I mean a journal with a very high impact factor. I remember doing a session in Manipal University, and there was a very senior doctor who said, I'm not even targeting this journal because I know my work will not reach there. He was a very humble man. I was very impressed with him. He says, I'm not targeting this journal, but I would want to target something with a lower impact factor. But people do want their work to get published in a good journal, and it's not easy. But let's try and make it easy. Publishable articles need to be based on solid scholarship. It is like the Fair and Lovely ad, which says you apply and then you become fair. There is no proof. It just runs on advertisements, and it should have been banned a long time ago. Now, you can't sit around and say, I was sitting under a tree and a coconut fell on my head, and I threw it up and it fell down again. That's no discovery. Newton discovered that. Just because you're changing the apple to a coconut does not make it a new discovery. So your articles need to be based on solid scholarship, solid findings. How you've discovered that, the methodology should be very sound. It should make sense. Most importantly, it needs to be well written. Do not go beating around the bush trying to get your points across. It has to be written in simple, correct English. We don't want you to be Shashi Tharoor. We don't want big words. We don't want great vocabulary. Simple, correct English. Please make a note of it. Use the active voice and write in the past tense. Please do not write in the present continuous tense. It's not a cookery show that you're doing, that now I'm heating the oil and I will be pouring tomato puree in it. No, it has to be written. This is what I did. This is what, and after this was done, I kept it for 10 minutes, and then this was the result of my findings. Past tense, active voice. Please remember that. Message should be clear and concise. I cannot be more vocal about making this point to everyone. Let's look at a few more concepts. Now, the biggest problem or the biggest difference between a thesis and an article is actually the audience. Who is reading your thesis? Your own professors. They know you. So the professor will say, okay, I know Shalini, she's a good student. She probably missed out on a few points. Let me give her marks for it because she's a good student. But when it's an article, the peer reviewers don't know you. They don't care who you are. It's anonymous. And they are ruthless. They will simply slash your article. They will reject it if it does not make sense to them. They are not going to be kind like your professors. That's the biggest difference, is the audience. The other difference is, thesis can be lengthy. You can keep on writing pages. Calcutta University is known to give marks basis the weight of its paper. So you can keep on writing. Whereas for a journal article, you have to read the author guidelines. It will tell you how many words you need to put in. It cannot be less or more than that. So you can't play around with it. In a thesis, we're trying to check how much you know. In an article, what we want is, what have you found out? What you know is okay. You've done that in your college. We want to know, what is it new? What are you adding to this? So these are the main differences between a thesis and an article. So how would you turn your thesis into an article? First and foremost, you will do your thinking. Think, do your self-introspection. Have I really done enough research? Do you think this research is going to make sense? You'll have to make sure about that. The other thing that you can do is you can write a letter or a short communication. Let me give you an example here. Let's say you're doing your research on a cure for COVID. And when you're doing your cure for COVID, you've written points 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And before you were about to submit your article, unfortunately, somebody has already done that research, found it, and got it published. Now, when this person has got it done and you're reading the research and it matches completely with what you're saying, but he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 points, but you have 5 and 6. So what can you do? You can turn around and say, I was reading your article, and you know what? I was doing the same research. And I completely agree with your findings because that's exactly what I discovered. But I've also discovered point 5 and 6. You might want to consider these 2 points. That's another way of getting your work published. So don't be disheartened if somebody has already published what you know, because you might have found out 1 or 2 things more than what that person knows. The other way is review papers. In Oxford University Press, we ask you to submit your review paper only by invitation. The next most important step is choose your journal. How would you choose your journal? You will check the scope of the journal. If you're writing about uh, dementia, you can write in Age of Aging, but it will not, you can write in the journal Brain, but it will not make sense with, say, an orthopedic journal. Probably it doesn't link to the bones. I'm not a medical practitioner. I'm sure you know best. So choose, check the scope of the journal, whether it fits into it or not. If it doesn't have an impact on the particular journal, it's no point. It's going to be rejected. So you check the scope, you check the impact factor, you check the evolution of the impact factor. And guys, please make a note of it. I just cannot stress upon this more. Choose only one journal at a time. Don't gamble by submitting your manuscript to more than one journal at a time. If you write to 10 different journals, your manuscript will be rejected by all 10. And not only that, you will lose your credibility as a researcher. So don't gamble. Send it to only one journal at a time. And when you start writing your manuscript, check the guide for authors. We will look at it more closely as we proceed. The different kinds of research articles, we've spoken about original research. I'm not repeating it. We've spoken about letters or rapid communication. We've spoken about review articles. Another interesting way of getting your research published is case studies, especially in the field of medicine. They play an important role. I'll give you a very simple story that happened recently. There was a friend of mine who was very ill. She had severe UTI. She didn't know what was wrong. She was in and out of hospital. She was getting admitted where they would give her all whatever drip and whatever, and she would be fine and she would be home. And in 10 days, again, the infection would be back. And she was resistant to almost every antibiotic. Nothing was really working. She'd given up. She thought she's going to die with this disease. And she would, very colorfully put it, I'm going to be one of those Tagore characters who just died fretting. So that's how it was. And when a friend of ours suggested that, why don't you come and show my doctor? The simple general physician, a very elderly man, and with a hole in a wall clinic. No big hospital, no jazz. He had a chamber in his garage. And he said, she went to him, and the first thing she said is, look, I'm not going to take any more antibiotics. And he smiled, he listened to her, and he said, okay, I'm just going to give you 2 tablets. You will take 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening. He gave her a probiotic, which stops the body from getting infections. And he gave her a cranberry tablet, which helps in flushing out the infection. So he said, you take 1 probiotic in the morning and 1 cranberry in the morning and again in the evening. That's all. And come back to me after a month. In 15 days, she was up and running. She reported back to work in 1 month. So that's an interesting case study. This is something that I know of, which is why I've been able to share with you. But I'm sure as medical practitioners, you will have case studies that are interesting and you might want to share them. How would you find the right journal? Look at the rankings, the impact factor. Look at the number of downloads, that's the altimetric score. Check the dissemination of the journal, again, the altimetric score. Its links to the different societies. So if you remember when I showed you the European Heart Journal, it said it was published in conjunction with the European Society of Cardiology. So if you click on the logo of the society, you will be able to find out about the society. I've had people where they've said, you know, I'm interested in joining um, uh, a society for astronomy. How do I go? So just click on the society and contact them. It's as simple as that. Read the relevance of content and publishing ethos. You might get that in the author guidelines, or you might see it in the About Information tab. The review speed you will be able to see in the author guidelines tab. You know how much time it will take to review the article. Again, at the risk of sounding very, very repetitive, choose your journal before you start writing your article. It's like choose your house and then start buying your furniture. Don't buy your furniture and look for a house where it will fit in. How would you write a manuscript? You would use a good title, a good heading. Very important. I was walking down in the airport and I see this book which catches my attention. Small Answers to Big Questions by Stephen Hawking. I found the title very, very captivating and I picked up the book. Of course, the author, Stephen Hawking, carries different weightage completely. But, you know, if you choose the right title, the right heading, it helps, you know, in bringing it up at the top of the search index. So right keywords should be there in the heading. An abstract. What is an abstract? It's actually a summary. Now, can I write a summary of your research? Certainly not. I don't know what you're thinking. What you are thinking, or what is the message that you are trying to give the audience, is what you know best. Therefore, the abstract should be written by the author himself, and it should include a brief summary of the methods taken and a short version of your results. We advise people to write the title and abstract last. These two you can do last. Do the main work first. Keywords. Choose the right keywords, method. These are things I've already said. So just take a brief look at the slide and it's pretty self-explanatory. This is a very nice example taken from one article from the Journal of Urban Ecology. So you remember I was telling you when you download it as a PowerPoint slide, it gives you the citation information. So you see, I downloaded this as a PowerPoint slide and included it in my presentation. How you can use sticky notes. So it says it's taken from this. It gives you the DOI number, published by Oxford University Press. So whenever I say, somebody can ask me, what is the source of your information? Well, this is the source. It's given here. Here is another one of mind mapping, another example. I will show you this article. I'll just go to the presentation and show you the article. Okay, this is the one. Yeah, this is the one. You can actually, if you have a cell phone in front of you, just quickly take a picture of this. And most of the information that I have collated in my PowerPoint is from this particular article. It's an extremely useful article. You see, it tells you, respect the audience. Writing moves in a straight line. So, you have a lot of information in this article. Please read it. I was talking about external reading. Yeah, these are the two examples that I've taken of using sticky notes and mind mapping. So take a look at this article. It's extremely, extremely important. And I'm just going to be giving you an overview of how you can submit your work. We've finished writing our article. We've selected our journal. We've decided what we want to research on, how it should be done. So my paper is ready. What is my next step? It is submitting it to the journal. So let's look at this. I'm going to be giving you a 5-minute bio break. It's 11:46 right now. I will expect you at 12:01 sharp.
Thank you, Sumita. So we'll meet at 12:01 sharp. Owen, you can have the music on till then. Let people come back after the bio break.
Sure, sir.
Thank you. Hi, Subita. Can
Yes,
we start the session now?
yes.
Thank you.
Welcome back. So let's take a look at the overview of the publishing process. These are the different stages that it takes. You have preparation, you have submission, production, publication, and promotion. We've finished discussing preparation and we are moving on to the next stage, which is submission. So I'm going to be sharing I'll do a demo with you on how to publish. So let's look at this particular journal, Brain. Like I told you, every journal's homepage will have these tabs at the top. The look and feel of the page will be different, but they will have these tabs. So what you need to do is first look at submit. You remember when I said choose your journal, read the author guidelines. So this is where you need to check the instructions to authors. So it
Sumita, I would just like to pause you. Unable to
Subita, your screen is
see the
gray.
screen.
It's not shared.
oh, it's not shared. Now,
Yes, we can see it.
okay, we'll just go back to the page. So here we are. So you remember I said all the homepage of every journal will have all these tabs. So what you need to really look at it is the author guidelines. That is when you're preparing your manuscript. You need to check the instructions to authors. It gives you information about the journal. It tells you the different manuscript categories, the word limit. You can check for the processing times. It tells you how many people will be viewing it. What all do you need to prepare your manuscript, the formatting that's required. All the information is given in the author guidelines. So before you start writing, before you select your journal, check the author guidelines. I cannot keep reiterating the importance of reading the author guidelines before you start. Having said that, I'm assuming you've read the author guidelines, you've selected your journal, and you have prepared your manuscript. So your next step is to move to the submission site. You can also check the editorial board from the About section just to see if you have any known people, someone you really admire and respect in that field. So this is one more thing that you might want to look at. So let's take a look at the submission site. The reason I chose Brain is because this is the only journal which allowed me to proceed without an ORCID ID. So I created my account and here I am logging in. So you have a user guide and FAQ section here. This will take you to the journal's homepage, but we are interested in the author tab right now. So when you click on the author tab, what are you going to do? You're going to start a new submission. So here it is. It tells you what it needs. Read all these guidelines very carefully. So what is it that I'm going to be submitting? I'm going to be submitting an original article. Here is the title. Just type something. Just type an abstract, save and continue. You see, it tells me how many words. I'm moving on to save and continue. Now it's asking me to upload my manuscript, any images, anything else, diagrams that I need to upload. It's asking me to do that. I'm not doing anything. I don't have anything to do, so I'm moving on. You see, it gives me an error message. But I continue, I move on. It's asking me to choose a subject category. I can choose this. It's asking me to add keywords. And again, save and continue. Again, it's saying I've not done. Here we are. Proceed. Here is where it will ask you to create an ORCID ID or associate your ORCID ID. Now, what is the ORCID ID? It's the Open Research Contributor ID. That's what it stands for. But what does it do? It actually helps in solving name ambiguity problem. Now, let's say there's a Jane Smith in Melbourne, there's a Jane Smith in Spain, a Jane Smith in Beijing, a Jane Smith in Singapore, a Jane Smith in Brazil, a Jane Smith in California, a Jane Smith in Scotland, a Jane Smith in Tanzania. So many Jane Smiths. How do we know which Jane Smith has written this article? I could very well say, I'm Jane Smith, and you know what? This is my article, and walk away taking credit for somebody else's work. So to avoid that, each one needs to have their ORCID ID. Each author has to have an ORCID ID. Without this, your manuscript will not be accepted. It is compulsory to have an ORCID ID. And it's just like your PAN card. You can have only one. It's a crime to have two. So you can't have two ORCID IDs. You will have to have only one, which you would continue to use. Now you see, I've just created a fake name here. You can add authors. Just click on this and move on. Just follow the instructions. Now here is where you have the choice of adding a referee. That means, you know, if you've checked the editorial board and you particularly like someone from there, you can always add references. Don't worry, it's anonymous. The referee will not know who you are, neither will you know actually whether it has gone to that person or not. So you have the choice to choose different reviewers. Some journals also give you the option of, I oppose this reviewer. So if you don't like a particular person on that board, you can always oppose that reviewer. Not all journals give you that option, but most journals do. So this is what you do, and you save and continue. Now it's asking me again, error message. I move on. Now here is what is very, very important is a cover letter. Remember, you will never get a second chance to make a good first impression. The person doesn't know you. He is reading your cover letter and he decides who you are basis your cover letter. If English is not your first language, I suggest you take help from someone. There are plenty of sites that help you. There is Editage, Enago, Grammarly. I follow Editage and Enago religiously on LinkedIn, and I keep reading their articles and upskilling myself. So these are just names that I'm suggesting. Please don't go around tomorrow and say, the trainer told me to read this, and now why are you rejecting my article? We take no guarantee for your article. We are just suggesting. So write a good cover letter with a proper introduction about yourself, your work, proper paragraphing, correct punctuation, and please, spellings. short forms. Don't write. When I see, in this text world, I see people using "see you later," with a C as in the letter C for Charlie. Please write the full spelling. It just raises doubts about your um, education when you use short forms. So make sure you write a good cover letter. Very, very important. Is there a funding? If somebody's funding it, yes. If someone's funding it, no. Choose whether has it been rejected? No. If it has been rejected, write yes and why. So you just select what you want and save and continue. Now you see it's telling me so many things are missing. There are so many things I haven't completed, but I'm disobedient. I still save and go to the next step. Here we are. Now it tells me to correct all of these before I submit. So you see the submit tab is grayed out. As long as you don't correct the ones that have been highlighted, you will not be allowed to submit it. So let's go back to our presentation. I'm assuming you have submitted it. And we are moving. And this is just a backup that I keep in case the internet doesn't work. So here we are. I've already shared all this with you, so I'm not going to be repetitive. Language services. We don't provide any in-house language editing services, but there are plenty of commercial companies. Please read this disclaimer. We do not take responsibility for these services. We are just suggesting. These are some of them. Take a picture of the slide if you like. These are the 3 that I follow on LinkedIn, and I find them very interesting. You might want to look at medical editor because most of you come from the field of medicine. So this is it. Now, when you go to the journal's website, we ask you to determine whether a latte template is available or not. It's spelt as latex, which is rubber actually, but it's pronounced as latte. So what is latte? It's a very simple document preparation system. Like, when you were reading the author guidelines, it said that the heading should be Times Roman 18 italics, and the content should be Times Roman 12. And you need to have 2 columns, and this is how figures. So all of this, if you have the latte software available, if that template is available, it saves the author a lot of time because he doesn't have to keep on making corrections. Okay, this has to be italicized, this has to be bold. It will automatically read those instructions, and all you need to do is just keep typing out your research. So it makes your work much simpler so that you get the right content. So just check if this is available and you can go to YouTube and do a tutorial on latte as well. But whatever I've said is good to know. If you need more information, check YouTube. Most journals use Scholar One or Editorial Manager. When you go to the submit page, you will see Scholar One written at the top. Scholar One and Editorial Manager are not OUP products. If you need a little tutoring on that, please refer to YouTube, go to Clarivate's site, check Scholar One. You'll get a lot of information on it. So here we are. Now, you remember I told you that I created an account because this was one journal that allowed me to create an account without starting with my ORCID ID, without linking it to my ORCID ID because I don't have an ORCID ID. So, you have to create an account to submit. This is account number 1 that you are creating. After you submit, it goes to the peer reviewers. They will review your work. After that, once they have approved, or what if they have rejected, whatever, we are assuming it is approved, then it goes to the OUP production team. When it goes to the OUP production team, you will have to create another account in our author services site. That site will be different from the journal's submission site. So the next step would be creating an account with the author services site. So this is done. I've already explained all this to you. Now, what is peer review? We keep hearing, this journal is highly peer reviewed, and we check for plagiarism, we check for authenticity, we check for how realistic your research is. So we hear all this, we hear publishers talking about all this. But what exactly is peer review? To the layman, in very simple terms, it is an academic term for quality control. We actually just check whether your research is valid, significant, and original. If there was no peer review, trust me, there would be no control. People would just publish rubbish. Someone would write Jack and Jill went up the hill and it would be published, which is why we have predatory journals, which are a big threat to real academic content. So this is how the peer review process works. You have an idea, you've done your research and writing, you've written your manuscript, you've sent it. See, your manuscript, it remains a manuscript till it is published. Only after it is published does it become an article. You send it to the journal editor, it is reviewed by 3 to 5, depending on how they want to do it, and they make a decision. Let's hope that these are the 2 signs you receive. Either they ask you to make a few changes, or they say good to go. And let's hope that this never comes back to you. So here you are. Once peer reviewers have accepted your work, I told you it goes to our production team. That is when our production team will create a 6-character unique ID, which is the DOI. So, even 50 years later, your grandchildren will have the DOI and say, okay, my grandfather wrote this article. So this static reference number is what your article will be given. And then OUP will send you a unique link to our author services site. They will ask you to create your account. They will ask you to sign a license to publish. And if there are any publication fees involved, you'll have to pay that. And it is from that side, with that account that you have created, you will be able to track the progress of your manuscript. Until we get a signed license from you, OUP will not proceed. And like I said, remember that the author services site is separate from the journal's manuscript submission site. This is pretty much what I've explained. If there are any corrections, when we send you the proof, if you want to make any corrections, you can always write and make those corrections then. Once it is published, we will not make any changes unless it is affecting the academic accuracy of the published information. We will never make any more changes after that. So when it comes to you for proofreading, please make sure that you're doing your job thoroughly. We usually do not charge anything to the author unless the author wishes to make his work open access. So let me just touch upon open access. When you write a book in generic terms, why do you write a book? You're not going to be giving out free copies. You want people to buy your book, right? So you've written a book, you've written an article, and you want people to read it. But how will people read it? They have to have a subscription to that journal. Unless, of course, you've done some magical research. You've just suddenly woken up and discovered that if you have this particular, if you have a spoonful of sugar, you are free from COVID. How I wish it was like that. You've discovered something really nice and you want it open to the public. So you say, I want it to be open access. In that case, the author needs to pay the publisher. There will be a charge for making it open access. But that does not mean because you're paying, the concept of, oh, I've paid, so I can write any rubbish and OUP will publish it. So you can't write the cow jumped over the moon and OUP will publish it. No, it still comes under the OUP umbrella. It still goes through the rigorous peer review. We still check for authenticity, plagiarism, and how solid your scholarship is, even if you're making it open access. So a lot of people turn around and say, you know, this is open access, so it must be useless. No. Under OUP, even if it's open access, you can be sure that the article has gone through the same rigorous peer review process. So that is open access, where the author pays the publisher to get his work free for the audience. Now, I'm not going into promotion of the article. This, you can go to the author services site and read how you can publish it in social media. Most papers are embargoed, like, you know, from the time it is published and from the time it is made open to the audience. During that embargo period, there are certain rules that you cannot talk about it on any social media. You cannot say that, you know, this kind of research is going to be released or anything. After it is open to the public is when you can publicize it on LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever. And so you can check the page for article metrics in social media. Open access, I have explained to you. These are the different open access models that OUP has to offer. Take a just brief look at this. And if you have any further information, if you need anything more from me, please feel free to write to me. I definitely respond to emails. And if there's any sales related information, you can write to my manager, Mr. Kaushik Ghosh. And if you write to me, I can always forward it to the sales team. So this brings us to the end of the How to Publish session, at least to the presentation, but I still have something more to share with you. So I'm moving on to this. This is the Oxford Academic YouTube channel. So when you go to YouTube and type Oxford Academic, it will bring you to this page. And here you can write how to publish. You can search for how to publish, and you will get a lot of professors giving you tips on different journals. So if any of the journals that you have selected is here, you will be able to listen to the video and get some inputs. You have case reports, you can meet the editors, listen to the editors talking. There's a lot of information here. The article, The Art and Science of Publishing an Article, I would again want to repeat that please take a note of this DOI and please read this article. Last but not the least, I'm going to run you through our Oxford Medicine platform. I think I'll have to rush through this. So this is the Oxford Medicine online platform. The URL is oxfordmedicine.com. This site is extremely important for anyone in the medicine field, anyone in the medical fraternity. Depending on whichever specialty you are, you could be an oncologist, you could be a geriatric, you could be a gynecologist, a psychologist, a dentist, whatever career stage you are in, whether you're a practicing intern, whether you're a qualified health professional, an undergraduate doctor, whichever stage, or whether you're a researcher. So for every career stage, we have something. And you can also browse through the different series that we have. So we have Oxford Medical Libraries, we have Oxford textbooks. I went to a doctor once last year, my general physician, and I turned around and I told him, I said, you know what, I have X problem. So he said, how do you know? I said, I'm telling you, I have this. So he said, so you seem to have studied Google very well. I said, no, Oxford Medicine. So he came out with a few books. So he said, are these there? I said, yes. So he said, okay, so this is how you educate yourself. Here you are. You've got lots of information, lots of books here. I'll just take, and these are the different specialities. So you can browse through whichever stage of medicine or whichever field of medicine you're interested in. There are about 1,000 plus authoritative titles. We have 85,000 plus images, diagrams, and charts. And we have videos here as well. So you'll find videos of surgeries, you'll find videos of Doppler echo, of the heart, of the neonatal stage of the baby. And you have question answers. For this, you need to register with Oxford e-learning. When you register with Oxford e-learning, you will need to have a ticket number from your library. If you register with this, you can do a course and download a certificate for having completed this particular title. Of course, it's not there for all titles. So this is something you need to register with Oxford e-learning to do. And of course, this is subscription based completely. The site is updated 4 times a year. You have a lot of information, free resources on the coronavirus. Just click on Explore Resources here. And you have a newsfeed column on the right side of the screen. The easiest way to do a search is just search for what you want and see if you get anything. Now let's take a look at this particular article. Now I'm not showing you refining. Anyone who knows how to shop on Amazon can do this. I'm not going to waste time doing this. But what I want to show you is one feature. If you look at the top of the page, now you see there are chapters and all. If you look at the top of the page, you see it says, welcome Sumita Sen. So this is where I have signed in. So you need to sign in and create your account, just like you create your account in Amazon, Big Basket, wherever you shop from. That's all you need to do. It's free. We don't charge you to create your account. Once you create your account and you're looking at, let's say, this particular article. Oh God. Now you think this particular thing is very important. What you can do is just select and annotate. You know what annotation is? When we were in school, we would sit with our textbooks and our pencil in class. And the teacher would come in and say, underline the second paragraph. And she would tell us a few important things to write. So that is what annotation is in the digital world. So you can just write, this is very important or whatever. annotate and save. Once you have saved it, that part will be highlighted so that you do not redundantly keep saving material. And when you go to your My Work area at the top of the page, you see whatever you have annotated is here. Most recent, my annotation, whatever you have been looking at, whatever you have recently searched will be available here. But you have to sign in, you have to create your account. I'd just like to show you, most chapters generally have, let me look at Mayo. See it. Okay. When you go to any of these chapters, most chapters will have a question answer tab at the bottom of each chapter. So let's look at this. At the end of it, many of them will have a question and answer, which is important for teachers. There is one from Mayo College. I don't know why I can't see it. Can anyone see it? Which I know definitely has. So there are plenty of chapters. We're already running short of time. Write to me if you have any doubts while browsing the site. When you look at any of these chapters, you will be able to get any of these books. You will get question and answers after every chapter. I don't know why I can't see it now. And it helps teachers, lecturers create, it's still loading. So it helps teachers with questions at the bottom. And you also have find this resource. So you can check if it's in your library, or you could check if it's in a library close to you. Let's say it's in some other university's library, and if it is there, you can always borrow it from someone there or ask someone to download it. You can check Web of Science, depending wherever this resource is available. It will give you leads to that as well. I'm really sorry, I can't find the question answer option now. And the other features remain the same. You can download the chapter as a PDF. You can cite, you can share on social media and do all of that. The other thing that I wanted to tell you was, I've told you about annotation. I've told you about creating your account. Okay, my next, we will now be working on doing sessions on different modes of citation, different our licensing agreements and our funding policies. These are the three things that we'll be working on. So if you do have a request for any of these sessions, please let us know. We'll be happy to do these sessions for you. The audience is open for questions.
Yeah, thank you, Sumita, for a very interesting session, and I'm sure everyone would have gained a lot of insights into how to publish with OUP and also on the Oxford Medicine Online portal. We have a lot of questions. In the interest of time, I'm sorry we'll be able to take only few, and the remaining we will, take it back to Sumita for her replies on that, and we can share on an email for all the attendees in today's session. Let me take up the first question. Okay, here is the first question for you, Sumita. How supportive is OUP for open access, that is free publishing, and how many such journals are there?
I don't have the number, but yes, we are very supportive if we think the content is good. When we do, we are working on material with the editorial team on different kinds of open access and the offers that we have. So give us, I think the content should be ready in the next month or so. We'll be able to move on with that. Very soon we'll have information, clarity on what I can share with the audience.
Okay, all right. So is there a place on the portal or a space on the portal where they can check this for this information?
Yes, for open access, there used to be a tab which has now been replaced by this, but you can always contact us here and check with us. Write to the editorial team. You will get information here.
Okay. Or is there a search bar where they can just type open access and get some information from on that from the portal in the search bar
It used to be here.
on the top search bar?
No, I don't think you get it here, but you
Okay.
would definitely get. There was a tab here for open access. I don't
Okay.
know why.
They can always send an inquiry to contact us. So
Yes,
and they will
send an
get the
inquiry to
replies.
contact.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you. Next question is, since we have been asked by our institution to publish research articles only with titles indexed in Scopus or SCI, would you highlight the specifics of OUP journals in this context? Which means which of the OUP journals are
I will not be
Scopus?
able.
Yeah.
I will not be able to give you the names per se,
Hmm.
but if you download the Scopus Excel sheet from there, that's how I get it. You actually get a list of all. Otherwise, if you look at any journal's about page, let's say we're looking at this, it tells you when you go to the about page, you actually get to see whether they are a member of ProQuest or EBSCO, wherever they are, Scopus. The indexing, all the information is there in the About Us tab for whichever journal you choose. Let me show you Brain. I know Brain has it. So it tells you wherever. See, the way I find it is I've downloaded the Scopus sheet and I've got it on
Okay, I'm
my.
sure if people are from any institution, they can request their library to share this information also. I'm
Yes, but
sure.
it's there in About. Yes, they can. But I generally take the information from the Scopus Excel sheet. That's how I pull it up. So if you want, I can mail the list to you of all the journals which can be shared with the audience.
Yeah, one has to see if it is available on their open platform, or one has to be a member of, as a subscriber or a customer for that to see the list. That is the question.
So you don't need to be a subscriber to see the list. I can see it. I'm not a subscriber to
Fine.
it.
So then I think it is available on the
It's
open portal because
available.
I had a downloaded list, so I don't know where it came from. But if it is available openly on the platform without logging in, then I think whosoever has asked this question can go on to the Scopus webpage and portal and download from there.
Yes, it's very easily downloadable. I can share the link.
Perfect.
I'll send it to you on an email.
Perfect. Thank you. So next question is, can Sumita ma'am show an article she referred last, please? Which means I think when you were talking about how to publish, that article is what is
This is
being
the one.
referred to her. Yeah.
This is the one.
Art and Science of Writing a publishable article.
It's from the Journal of Urban Ecology.
Ecology. Right. Thank Thank you. Is it possible to publish a book with OUP, keeping the copyright and royalties with the authors?
I am not equipped to talk about books. I'm only equipped to talk about journal articles. But if you go to our YouTube channel, there is a lot of information on publishing with. Or if you go to our ebook site, if you go to oxfordscholarship.com, there is a guide for authors there as well. This is our ebooks platform. It's a separate platform altogether. Very soon, all of them will be on the same. And so there is a tab for authors here as well.
oxfordscholarship.com. Yeah. Okay.
But you know, all of the there for authors here.
Okay.
You go to about, there is a tab for authors. Actually, if you browse around, if you just look around, everything is available.
Yeah, absolutely. One has to just spend some time on the portal.
Yes.
You'll just figure out. Okay. So the next question, Sumita, is can you guide us on an authentic source to find the evolution of citations or impact factor?
I think the journal's homepage is, I think, the most reliable source. Why would you go anywhere else? I think this is the most authentic source.
All right. So the journal homepage will definitely give information on the impact factor.
Yes.
Or evolution of, so what is evolution of citations here means? Impact factor is understood. On authentic source to find evolution of citations. Yeah, we'll have to.
The citation, evolution of citation, I doubt whether anyone can find it. I don't know.
That could be a paper somewhere. One has to find a authentic paper if someone has published on evolution of citations over a period of time. But impact factor, yes, it will be available from the respective journal homepage. Okay. Let's go to the next question. What are the major differences with journal and book publishing?
Well, book publishing, you know, if you read this article, it tells you actually, you know, the difference. When you're writing for a book, it is more kind of literature, and scientific writing is different from some kind of writing done for literature. So it's all given here.
Right. So that article will be providing useful insights to understand these differences, right? Along with other concepts, what you covered.
Yes.
Okay. Are there any specific requirements with OUP, like writing style?
No, there's no specific requirement. What I said was generic, and whatever I've taught or spoken about is more or less relevant to any journal, with any publisher. It's not OUP specific completely.
All right.
English, we only accept English. The quality of writing.
Yeah, there was one question I read somewhere in between also, like, is there any other language also in which OUP journals are published?
Only English.
Only English. Okay. Thank you. Kindly provide details on co-author consent and its relevance.
Well, if there are two authors working on the same research, say if you and one of your colleagues are working on the same project together, you would definitely want to give recognition to the other author as well, right? You wouldn't want to take all the credit to yourself, which is why, because it's a team thing. The two of you have done it, so you need to give. There are plenty of articles which have co-authors. If you look, there are two authors, plenty of them would have. Look at any article anywhere. Something.
Okay.
Many
So
of
take the
them.
last question for the day today. Will you please enlighten us by providing some tips for reviewing an article or a book?
Well, they come by invitation. So that is something that the board decides who they. So you have to have had a name, made a name for yourself to be invited to write it. Like you have to be an expert in that field to
Yeah,
be
some
invited.
eminence, some reckoning in the field, and then probably, if it is visible to others, they will reach out to you. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
All right. I think if there are any other questions, as Sumita has mentioned, you can reach out to her. Sumita, have you shared your email ID?
I have. I'll share it again. Here we are.
Great. Sure. Mr. Kaushik Ghosh is Sumita's boss, and he is responsible for this territory, Southeast Asia. And his email ID is kaushik.ghosh@oup.com, and Sumita's email is sumita.sen@oup.com. So with this, we come to an end of this webinar session. We look forward to your feedback, and we hope to come out with more such informative sessions as EBSCO has been doing since May this year, and keeping all the users, faculty, libraries engaged positively. And we are also receiving your feedback. Thank you so much for all the positive feedback. That actually motivates us to come out with more innovative and informative webinar sessions like this. And last but not the least, Sumita, thank you once again for a brilliant session. This is the second one which we have done with you, and I'm sure people would definitely appreciate this and would have gained useful insights into how to publish with OUP, and overall also on how to go about publishing in any journal that they think of. I'm sure these would have been very useful tips for them. There were students in the session, faculty, librarians, everyone. And on behalf of EBSCO, I thank you, Sumita, and all the attendees today who have taken their valuable time out to participate in this today's webinar. The next one, which we are coming out with, is on 23rd July. And as you can see, the title, again, it's a upcoming title, and it will be an interesting session from Dr. Jairaj Durai Pandian. He is Professor of Neurology and Principal Dean of Christian Medical College, CMC, Ludhiana, and he's also the Vice President of World Stroke Organization. The topic is evidence-based medicine in current clinical practice. So time is 5 p.m. We want to have more clinical practitioners in that session. So we have gone through the timing, what is comfortable to doctors and practicing clinicians, and timing is 5th July, 23rd July at 5 p.m. So we hope to see all of you there, and please do share this. You will all get this information by way of WhatsApp or email on this webinar, and we request you to share it with all the people you think who will benefit from this webinar. So thank you once again. Take care, stay safe and healthy, and take care. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sumita. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone for being such a wonderful audience. And thank you, Mr. Goswami, for arranging this.
Most welcome. My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Goodbye, everyone. Thanks.